Time now to take a look at the week's stories with impacts branding and brands. And for that, we turn to branding expert and host of the Chatter That Matters podcast, Tony Chapman. Tony, good to talk to you this morning. This was an interesting sudden move, a decision by Diageo closing its Amherstburg Crown Royal plant, which of course was in the crosshairs of the premier for months now. They do it without warning, 2 days early, try to avoid scrutiny. What do you make of this? Good move, bad move by the company?
I think it's a bad move. I mean, they're really ghosting us. They're saying we don't want the cameras for the last day in the plant. We don't want the emotional farewells. We don't want to remind the consumer that we're leaving the Ontario plant. I mean, this is generations of work there. This is a really well-run plant. And, to sneak out 2 days early, especially after doing that deal with Doug Ford for $23 million, to me, is not going to play well for their brand.
Yeah, I kind of really scratch my head when I look at this and I think, okay, like you knew this was coming, but you're almost like, isn't it another black eye to sort of like, run out in the middle of the night versus sort of kind of facing a bit of scrutiny and having a sort of message ready to go?
I'm surprised with their PR people, because you should be getting in front of it, reminding people that this product is still distilled in Manitoba. It's still a Canadian product. It's about supply chain. It happens both sides of the border. Just remind Canadians that you're still vesting in it in this country. But I think by doing this, it's a sour taste. I think it's going to shine a light across all of the Diageo brands, not just Crown Royal. And they're going to get a lot of blowback. And they're going to get a lot of blowback from Canadian restaurant owners. They're going to get a lot of blowback, obviously, from Doug Ford. So I think I think they should have just stood up with their shoulders back, waited the extra 2 days, had the press conference, and moved on. And time will tell if I'm right or in fact, they're wrong.
Be curious to watch that indeed. Okay, let's turn to this. And this is an interesting one. Ashley Madison, which you either know about or you don't, but it's on a complete rebrand, Tony. And it's interesting how they're positioning themselves now.
Yeah, they're talking about ethical discretion. But if you remember 2015, a lot of married men threw up in their cornflakes when they had a massive data breach. And they were wondering, oh, my God, am I going to get exposed? So coming back this way is very smart. Ethical discretion. It's saying that we're now focused on the single market, not the married market. So it's not about affairs anymore. It's about dating. And what their promise is and what they're hoping to rebuild trust is this sense of ethical discretion. You're going to be in control of your imagery. We're going to use encryption technology, and we're going to go at it a very different way than we did in the past. I love their branding. I love their creative. I love their approach. But I think this also we're going to deal with is they've got a lot of sort of brand damage to recover even 10 years later, because I think that a lot of people were torched when that data breach happened.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that side of the story, that data breach. Yeah, that was something about a decade ago, as you mentioned. Yeah,
I just remember that the fallout from that, because at the end, those were for married people to have it. The other thing that came out of that was 90% of the people on that site were men, and a lot of bots and stuff that was going on. So it was a real mess for that brand.
Yeah, the
rebranding is smart. They're going after a really good positioning. I think their marketing is very sharp and brilliant. The question is, will we forget the past to embrace their future?
Okay.
And that's always the challenge when you're coming out of a hole, to come back and say to the consumer, I'm back and I'm better.
Absolutely. Okay, when I think of IKEA, I think of Allen keys and assembling furniture, Tony. But now they've got this new thing that sort of surfaced on social media. It's everywhere. It's punched this monkey at this Japanese zoo. And of course, the monkey's, sort of buddy is a stuffed toy from IKEA. What's the opportunity here for the Swedish furniture maker?
Well, I think they did this brilliantly. This became a meme across the world. People loved it. It was about empathy. And IKEA obviously didn't have enough monkeys and staff. And, they're selling on eBay now for $400. IKEA never raised their prices. They went out and instead of trying to command the story, they just said, we're part of it. We love the fact that this monkey's so beloved. And it's just a great world of marketing nowadays, where the consumer's in control of the message. They create this, it goes viral, it goes around the world, and IKEA that says, I didn't do it, I'm not part of it, but I'm certainly going to embrace it the best I can. And I think IKEA time and time again understands that it's sometimes better to be part of the conversation and be part of the consumer story versus trying to hijack it. And it's a great lesson in life for anybody in marketing, that when something like this is a roar on the internet, don't try to say, I'm going to surf the wave. Just simply say, I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, and I know from experience when I go to IKEA, I don't just buy the one thing that I'm looking for. I always pick up one or two other things, so you can understand.
Well, what's with the Allen key that only goes to this wear? So when you start,
oh my gosh,
and
I know.
it just tears into your palm.
Yeah.
Give me a longer Allen key. If IKEA, you're listening. Great marketing, but man, you got to improve the length of that Allen key.
That would be nice. Hey, Tony, we don't have enough time to continue. It'd be nice to go longer, but we can't today. Tony Chapman with the Chat That Matters podcast. We'll talk to you soon, Tony. Thanks so much.